What is up, YouTube? It's the Atheist Guard. I'm Gregory Durth. I'll be talking briefly about this common assertion that you hear from theists when you're doing debates about, though they'll basically assert that you know a God exists, that you're not actually an atheist, that you're just pretending to be an atheist somehow, that you know a God exists, and I guess they're basically calling you a liar. And they usually back that with another assertion that you do this because you just want to sin, or you do this because you don't want to be accountable, or because you've had some negative thing happen to you in your life, or, some relative died or something. You're having an emotional reason for rejecting God that you know actually exists. Of course, as an atheist, we pretty much just shirk that off because it's horribly dishonest, and it's a great tactic to dodge the burden of proof. When you're asking a theist, can you demonstrate that your God exists? And they basically tell you, well, you know a God exists, you're just pretending like you don't. They're basically dodging the issue, which is having a justification for their belief. They want to dodge that by basically claiming that you know that a God exists, so that they don't have to bother proving it to you, because there's no need to prove to you something that you know. Now, this raises a few problems, obviously. First of all, if I was being deceptive and claiming that I don't believe a God exists while actually still believing that a God does exist, why would I do that? I mean, even if I had some selfish motivations to be hedonistic and, live in sin or do all these things, knowing that a God does exist, it would be kind of pointless to live that way, because I would know that there would be some judgment on me. We're going with the Christian God in this case. And I'd be held accountable for my actions and disbelief, and that I'd be ultimately punished for it. And that this finite existence here on this planet is nothing compared to an eternal damnation. So why would it's not like I'm going to fool God by claiming I don't believe he exists, dishonestly. The God's got to know that I'm faking it, that I do know he exists and I'm rejecting him so I can live a sinful lifestyle, which defeats the purpose, because I'm just going to get damned for eternity. So obviously, it doesn't make any logical sense for me to be deceptive about that, to actually claim that I know a God doesn't exist, or say that I don't believe theist claims that a God does exist while actually believing. It wouldn't make any sense for me to do that, because you're not going to fool the God. In the end, you're going to be accountable regardless. Now, the only logical reason to say you don't believe a God exists is if you actually don't, because the contrary is absurd, because you're going to be held accountable. Now, I'm an atheist, so I honestly don't believe a God exists. I don't believe theist claims that gods exist. And I don't have a fear of my final judgment before a God, because I don't think there is a final judgment, because I don't think there is a God. Otherwise, I would believe in a God, and I would live my life whatever the God wanted me to do. I'd do that, because I'd be trying to avoid this, this dictator's punishment for those that don't believe in him. Why would I make the unforgivable sin of blaspheming the Holy Spirit unless I thought there wasn't one? Why would I do that to myself? I like existing. And if there was an afterlife, I would like to exist in a decent afterlife. So, that's what it comes down to me. I just don't see the logic behind that assertion. They're basically claiming that you're not only lying, that you do believe a God exists, but that you're stupid. That you would do something that would be horribly detrimental to your eternal existence. And I don't know, I guess they would have to demonstrate that too, that you are in fact that stupid. that you would do something that irrational. Basically, I don't believe in God because I haven't been convinced of one. If I had been convinced that a God exists, I would believe in one, and I wouldn't go around saying I don't, because there would be no point in doing that. There'd be no point in being deceptive about that, because I'd still be held for a judgment, for my eternal afterlife. There'd be no point in being deceptive, because the only people I'd be fooling would be humans, which doesn't matter, because this existence would be a speck of an insignificant, point in time compared to the infinity of an afterlife, the eternal afterlife. There would be no point in deceiving all these humans by saying, oh, I don't believe in a God. Especially if I'm going around asking people for their evidence. Why would I do that if I actually believed a God exists? It'd be one thing to go around and try to convince people that a God does not exist, but I don't do that. I ask people what they believe and what is their justification for their belief. What is their evidence to back up their belief? I'm not trying to convince them that no God exists. Usually, nothing changes in those conversations. I don't end up convincing them of my position, that I'm rational in my position, and they don't end up convincing me, obviously, that they're rational in their position, because they don't present the evidence, and I'm not trying to present evidence to the contrary, because that's not the point. I'm an agnostic atheist. I don't claim to know that no gods exist, so I don't have a burden of proof to go around convincing people of the contrary. I'm just saying I don't believe. I haven't been convinced. So what would be my motivation to lie? What would be my motivation to say that I don't believe? I'm not saying that no gods exist. I'm just saying I don't believe that they do. So there's really no evil impact that I'd be fulfilling on this plane. I'd be basically challenging people's beliefs, but if your belief is true, it shouldn't have anything to fear from investigation, from being questioned. You should be able to just be like, oh yeah, you want the evidence? Here you go. Here's the evidence. Now you can believe. It shouldn't be a matter of like, how dare you question my belief? It should be a matter of, oh, you question my belief? Oh, here's the reason. It should be easy. It should be normal to go and convince somebody that something exists. It should be relatively simple. And that hasn't happened for me yet. And I'm not going to do anything absurd like try to demonstrate that something does not exist. I mean, you can't prove a negative like that. I can't prove that there are no leprechauns. I can't prove that there is no Loch Ness Monster or Bigfoot. I can't prove these things don't exist. I just don't have a reason to believe that they do, because no one's given me the evidence to justify that belief. And to claim that I'm lying, that I actually know, it just goes down into a nice illogical, abyss. It just doesn't make any sense when you boil it down, because who am I trying to fool? Why would I be trying to fool anybody? I'm definitely not going to be able to fool this God that I supposedly believe exists, so why would I even do that? So, anyways, that's the way I look at that assertion. That's what I always tell people when they bring that up to me. I explain to them the absurdity of doing that. Why would I do that? What could possibly be a positive outcome for me by lying about that? But I understand where they're coming from. I mean, it's biblical. There's something in the Bible where it says basically that everybody has that knowledge. Everybody knows that God exists. The Bible says so they believe it's true. So when you say that you don't believe that God exists, they have to think you're lying, because they have to believe the Bible's true. They can't believe the Bible could have got that wrong. That there are, in fact, people that don't believe. That there are, in fact, people that haven't heard the evidence that they never seem to produce when they are repeatedly demanded to. Anyhow, thanks a lot, YouTube, and I'll catch you later.